Hello everyone. Today I will be talking about how to install a virtual machine and how to use Autopsy. If you haven't already, please download the VirtualBox, Kali Linux, ISOfile, and Autopsy. So this is the website for the Autopsy. Download will be 64-bit. And then for Kali Linux, you would scroll down to installer images. It'll be the installer 64-bit. But please be careful on clicking on the ISO file once it downloads because it could mess up your system. We'll be dragging it into VirtualBox. And for Autopsy, again, it'll be for the 64-bit. And for VirtualBox, you go to virtualbox.org. You click Downloads. And depending on your operating system, you download the corresponding file to it. We will now be going to VirtualBox. And we will click New to create a new VM. And the name could be any name that you choose, so I will name it Kali Linux 4063. The machine folder, it's already set up there for you. And the type, since we're downloading a Kali Linux, it will be Linux. But as you can see, there is options for a Microsoft Windows, Solaris, BSD, IBM, a Mac OS X, or other. And as you can see, we would have to put in the version. A Debian 64-bit will be fine. But as you can see, there are many other versions of Kali Linux. You get the Red Hat, Oracle, Fedora, Debian. As you can see, there's a 32-bit and a 64-bit. We'll be using the 64-bit. We click Next. The memory size, usually it's recommended that you do 8 gigabytes. But since this is Kali Linux, I'll be going a little higher. Click Next. Hard disk. We're going to be creating a virtual hard disk now. As you can see, it says recommended size of the hard disk is 8 gigabytes. Create. And we'll be using a VirtualBox disk image, which would be the ISO file that we downloaded from Kali Linux. Click Next. We will leave it at dynamically allocated. Next. And this is where you're going to put the name of the virtual hard disk. And for the size of the virtual hard disk, usually it's recommended that you do 8 gigabytes, but I like going a little higher just to give it space. So around 20 will be fine. And then you press create. And there you have it. Now we will need to put the ISO file, the Kali Linux ISO file, into the VM. Here are the settings for the Kali Linux VM. You can share a clipboard between your operating system and the Kali Linux VM. Be bidirectional. It's optional. You can encrypt your disk. System. This for the motherboard. Processor. I usually like giving it a little more processing power, so 405 should do it. Display, video memory. I like giving it a lot more space. Since it's in megabytes, so it shouldn't take a lot of space. As for storage, this is where we're gonna install our ISO file that we downloaded from kalilinux.org. As you can see, press on the little disk image, and it should be right here. Kali Linux ISO file. And this is going to be under the controller, under the IDE. For audio, network, these things shouldn't be messed with since it's already automatically put in for you. Serial ports, this is if you want to connect anything to your computer, so that way your Kali Linux VM can see it. Or any USB drives. You can also share some folders from your host operating system to your Kali Linux VM. After going through all the settings, we press OK. And that should be it for the settings. Now we press start. Using the up and down keys, we see the options of graphical install, advanced options, accessible dark contrast installer menu, install with speech synthesis. We're going to go with graphical install and press enter. And here are some more settings that we need to configure for Kali Linux VM. So this is where you click the language you want, English, continue, United States, continue, press continue. This might take a minute. So we're going to leave it at Kali. Press continue. Domain name, we leave it empty. Continue. And then you enter a username or your full name if you prefer. So I'm put in testing. Testing. And then you enter a password. Press continue. In the time zone, Central. We will use the entire disk. Continue. And this is the disk that we created earlier in VirtualBox, the 22.5 gigabytes. Press continue. And then we leave it at all files and one partition. Press continue. And then we leave it at finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Continue. We'll be clicking yes on this one. Click next. Continue. And this could take a minute or two. I believe it's installing all the tools that Kali Linux offers. So this is why it's taking a while. We'll be using a GNOME desktop environment. Continue. It should take another minute or so to finish installing. Hopefully it finished installing quickly. Okay, after several minutes of Kali Linux installing, we come to this page. And you leave it at yes. Continue. And then you click on the hard disk that we created. And click continue. I'm guessing this is going to take another minute. The installation is complete. So we press continue to reboot. Restarting system. Okay, Linux is loading up. And this is the username I put in for my account earlier. Press enter. And there you have it. Kali Linux is installed. As you can see, all the applications that comes with Kali Linux. I will now be showing you the basics of Autopsy. Autopsy is an open source digital forensics tool widely used in the field. The reason why I did a tutorial on virtual machines in the beginning is because many in the cybersecurity field do their work on a virtual machine instead of using their own operating system. This is ideal approach since you wouldn't want malware on your own operating system if you're working on a case. Once you open Autopsy, this comes up and you have the option of a new case, open recent case, or open case. We'll be clicking new case. And it gives you the option of listing the case name. So we'll be putting IS 4063. Next. And this is just optional. Finish. Press next. And it gives you the type of data source type. So whether it's a disk image, a local disk, logical files, unallocated space image file, autopsy logical imager results, or a test export. I will be using a thumb drive provided by my digital forensics professor, Professor Irvin. So I'll be using logical files. After I added the thumb drive provided by my digital forensics professor, you can see all the options that you can get results from. You can get a hash lookup, a file type identification, extension mismatch detector, embedded file extractor, picture analyzer, keyword search, email parser, encryption detection, interesting files identifier, central repository, and many other options. We'll click next. It is analyzing the thumb drive. We will now be analyzing the file. So this is a case provided by my digital forensics professor, Professor Irvin. Disclaimer: scenarios for all of my assignments are completely fictional, but may include actual names, locations, and landmarks to add realism. Help. A reliable source indicates that computer programmer Katie Libby of San Antonio is unhappy in her marriage and trying to poison her husband to get access to a $2 million insurance policy. The source indicates that he works with Kate's accomplice, Dade Murphy, at your house in La Cantera Mall and believes it will happen there. Your undercover tech ops team enters Kate's apartment while she's at work and only to find a thumb drive on her desk. Your assignment should be to download the image, submit a screenshot of autopsy showing Dade's email address, what type of poison is likely to be used, how Dade is being paid and how much, showing the date of the planned poisoning, and how the poisoning will take place. So if we analyze the thumb drive, we see we have a keyword hit and an email address. So we already found the email for Dade. It says Kate contact me at zerocool@yahoo.com tonight to set everything up. Well, Simon's asking for the type of poison, so we will look for a keyword search. And click search the word poison. It looks like we got a hit. They're planning on using this type of poison. It's also asking that when he's getting paid or the type of payment. So we would search up payment. And there you go. He's getting paid $6,000 in advance, 12,000 after Monday night. The cool thing about Autopsy is that you can do a keyword search. You can also include credit card numbers, URLs, email address, IP address, phone numbers. And you can also submit a list. We look at the thumb drive. You can see it's just ones and zeros, basically. And this is in hex format. And that was pretty much it. This is a pretty simple assignment. Usually there's more results. Like for example, usually you would get like this many type of results. You get the file types, recent files, extracted content, cookies, web history, downloads, recent documents, installed programs, device attached, bookmarks. This is more of a complex case. So hopefully this brief introduction to autopsy makes you look into digital forensics. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you have any questions, please let me know.